Picture this. You've just been kidnapped by pirates. You're being held on a tiny island somewhere in the Aegean Sea. Your friends are scrambling to raise the ransom money. And you are annoyed. Not scared. Not begging for your life. Annoyed. Because the pirates had the absolute nerve to value you at only 20 talents of silver. So you do the logical thing. You tell them to ask for 50 instead. You write poetry, you give speeches, and if they don't applaud loud enough, you tell them to their faces that they're uncultured barbarians. And then, just to keep things friendly, you promise them, with a smile, that once you're free, you will come back and crucify every single one of them. The pirates laughed. They thought it was a joke. It was not a joke. This man was 25 years old. He hadn't conquered anything yet. He held no official power, and he was already the most dangerous person in the room. This is Julius Caesar, and this is where it all began. Gaius Julius Caesar was born on the 12th or 13th of July, in the year 100 BCE, in Rome. The month July is literally named after this man. That's how famous he's going to get. His family, the Julii, were patricians, Rome's old aristocracy. They were the kind of family that traced their ancestry all the way back to Aeneas, the Trojan hero, who was supposedly the son of Venus, goddess of love. So, according to the family marketing department, Caesar was descended from a goddess. Now, were they actually descended from a goddess? Probably not. But in Rome, having a great story about your family tree was almost as useful as having money. And the Julii didn't have a lot of that either. Because here's the thing. The Caesars were noble, but they were not powerful. No one in the recent family had reached the top office in Rome, the consulship. They were respected, but not particularly feared or famous. Not yet. His father, also named Gaius Julius Caesar, was a reasonably successful politician, reaching the rank of praetor, the second highest office in Rome. His mother, Aurelia, was by all accounts an exceptional woman, educated, sharp, and a major force in shaping her son. Ancient writers credit her heavily for how Caesar turned out. His father, meanwhile, died suddenly when Caesar was just 16, dropping dead while putting on his shoes one morning, according to Suetonius. So at 16, Caesar became the head of the household. No father, modest means, enormous family expectations. The pressure was on. To understand Caesar, you have to understand the Rome he was born into. Because it was not a pretty picture. Rome, in the late 100s BCE, was being torn apart by political violence. Two factions were locked in a bitter struggle. On one side, the Optimates, the conservative senators who believed power should stay firmly with the aristocracy. On the other, the Populares, politicians who appealed to ordinary people and pushed for reform. This wasn't just a debate. People were getting killed over it. Caesar's family sat firmly on the Populares' side. His aunt Julia was married to Gaius Marius, the most celebrated general in Rome, a man who had saved the Republic from invading Germanic tribes and been elected consul an almost unheard of 7 times. Marius was Caesar's uncle by marriage and a towering figure in his early life. When Caesar was around 17, he married Cornelia, the daughter of Lucius Cornelius Cinna, one of Marius's key political allies. This was not just romance. In Rome, marriage was politics. Caesar had just nailed his colors firmly to the Populares mast, which was going to be a problem, because Marius died in 86 BCE, and the man on the other side, a ruthless general named Lucius Cornelius Sulla, was coming back from the east with an army, and he was furious. In 82 BCE, Sulla marched on Rome, won the civil war, and made himself dictator. Then he did something that would define the next few years of Roman life. He published proscription lists. A proscription list, in case you're wondering, is exactly as grim as it sounds. It was an official public list of enemies of the state. If your name was on it, anyone in Rome was legally allowed to kill you and collect a reward. Your property would be seized. Your family would be ruined. It was legalized murder with a bulletin board. Caesar's name may have been on it, or at least Sulla had him firmly in his sights. Why? Because Caesar's wife was the daughter of Sulla's dead enemy. His uncle by marriage had been Sulla's greatest rival. The young man was, politically speaking, radioactive. Sulla summoned Caesar and gave him a simple order: divorce Cornelia. Caesar said no. This is worth pausing on. Caesar was a teenager, perhaps 18 or 19 years old. Sulla was the most powerful man in Rome, a battle-hardened general who had already killed thousands of his political opponents, and Caesar looked him in the eye and refused. As a result, Sulla stripped Caesar of his priesthood and confiscated his wife's dowry and his own inheritance. Caesar went into hiding, fleeing into the countryside, moving constantly to avoid Sulla's agents. Eventually, Caesar's well-connected relatives, including the famously respected Vestal virgins, pleaded his case with Sulla. The dictator relented, but reportedly said something that should have terrified everyone: that he saw in this young man many Mariuses. In other words, watch this one. He's going to be trouble. For once, Sulla was absolutely right. Caesar, clearly deciding that hiding in Rome while Sulla was still in charge was not a great plan, left the city and joined the army. He served in the province of Asia, where he earned a military decoration for bravery during the siege of Mytilene. He was not just surviving, he was building a reputation. Sulla died in 78 BCE, and Caesar returned to Rome. He began building his public profile as a lawyer and speaker. He was already known as a gifted orator. And in 75 BCE, he decided to travel to the island of Rhodes to study rhetoric under one of the best teachers in the world, a man named Apollonius. Cicero, arguably the greatest speaker in Roman history, had studied under the same teacher. Caesar took his education seriously. He never made it to Rhodes, not on that trip. Somewhere in the Aegean Sea, his ship was intercepted by Cilician pirates. The Mediterranean at this time was absolutely crawling with pirates. The Cilicians in particular, operating from the rocky coast of what is now southern Turkey, had built piracy into a full-scale criminal empire. They attacked ships, raided coastal towns, and kidnapped wealthy travelers for ransom. The Roman Senate had done embarrassingly little about it, partly because some Roman slave traders were quietly doing business with them. Caesar, a 25-year-old nobleman traveling with a small group, was captured and taken to the island of Pharmacusa, where he was held while his companions scrambled to raise his ransom. The pirates assessed their prisoner and named their price, 20 talents of silver. This was an enormous sum, roughly equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dollars today. Caesar was insulted. According to Plutarch, Caesar actually laughed at them. 20 talents? Did they have any idea who he was? He told the pirates to demand 50 talents instead. The pirates, apparently baffled by this response from their captive, agreed. So now Caesar was stuck on a small island while his people sailed off to collect an even larger ransom. For 38 days. What did Caesar do with 38 days as a pirate prisoner? He made himself completely at home. He ordered the pirates to be quiet when he wanted to sleep. He wrote poems and speeches to pass the time, and then forced the pirates to sit and listen to them. If they didn't react with sufficient enthusiasm, he called them illiterate barbarians to their faces. He joined them in their games and exercise. He gave orders as if he were their commander, not their prisoner. And repeatedly, cheerfully, with a smile, he told them that once he was free, he was going to come back and crucify every single one of them. The pirates found this hilarious. They thought he was joking. They genuinely liked him. According to Plutarch, they were charmed by his boldness, attributing it to a kind of boyish mirth. He was not joking. The ransom arrived. Caesar was freed at Miletus, and before anyone could suggest he take a moment to recover from his ordeal, he had already walked into the harbor, borrowed a fleet of ships, sailed back to Pharmacusa, and captured the pirates, who had not moved, because why would they? He was just some young nobleman. Caesar had the pirates imprisoned, and went to the Roman governor of the province of Asia, a man named Marcus Juncus, to demand they be executed. Juncus, who had his eye on the pirates' assets, and was thinking about selling them into slavery for a profit, declined to move quickly. Caesar didn't wait. He went back to the prison and had the pirates crucified himself. He had no legal authority to do this whatsoever. He did it anyway. There is a small note of mercy here recorded by one ancient source. Caesar apparently had the pirates' throats cut before they were nailed up to spare them a prolonged death. Whether this was genuine compassion or just efficiency is, perhaps, a matter of interpretation. Either way, the message was clear. Julius Caesar meant what he said. And so that is Caesar at 25. No official position, no army, no empire, just a young man from a noble but not especially powerful family, who had defied a dictator as a teenager, earned a military decoration, been kidnapped by pirates, and then, just to close the loop, personally crucified his kidnappers. He hasn't even started yet. In Part 2, Caesar begins his formal political career in Rome. He spends extraordinary sums of money he doesn't have, makes powerful friends, makes even more powerful enemies, and begins his climb toward the very top of the Roman Republic. And yes, things are going to get considerably more dramatic from here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in Part 2.